Hey everybody, welcome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for spending part of your Wednesday morning with us. Folks are still joining, so we're going to give it about one more minute and then kick off for the Decision Point 3 webinar for TClass. Thanks for joining us. Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining today and taking part out of your Wednesday morning. So a few folks are still joining. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds until that levels off, and we'll go ahead and kick off the Decision Point 3 webinar for TClass. Thanks. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining us today. We're thrilled to be with you on this Wednesday morning. This is the deep dive webinar for the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports, specifically Decision Point 3 today, which is high quality instructional material supplemental products. My name is Andrew Hodge. I'm the Director of Innovative Instructional Models at TEA, and thrilled to be joined by a few of my colleagues today. Would love if folks on our team can come off mute and introduce themselves.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Amanda Patterson, and I'm the Blended Learning Program Manager here at TEA.
Hi all, my name is Elia Simons. I'm a content lead in the Open Education Resources Division within TA, and I specialize in the review and development of full sets of early childhood HQIM and RLA partial sets, also known as supplemental instructional materials.
Good morning, my name is Michelle Reeves and I'm the State Dyslexia Coordinator.
And good morning, I'm Stacy Avery. I'm the Director of Post-Secondary Preparation Programs, and my team works with the Texas College Bridge Program, which you'll hear more about.
Thanks so much, y'all. Folks in the audience, you have a great crew today that's going to be able to walk you through some of these supports. So we're excited to get started. A few pieces of housekeeping before we do jump into the recap of TClass. This session will be recorded. It is being recorded, and we will share that recording and we'll share the slides from this session on the TClass website, on TA's website, or the TClass webpage on TA's website. Easiest way to get there, just go to Google TClass, TCLAS. And that should be able to pop up for you. That will be posted there. Hopefully we'll get it up for you by the end of the day today. The other thing is, and we've seen some people taking advantage of it already, throw some questions in that Q&A for us. We're excited to make this engaging and relevant for you and your situation, your unique local district needs. So ask questions as we go. This is a deep dive that will be a little bit different than some of the other TClass deep dives because there are multiple kind of sub-decisions within this decision point. And so where we can, we'll try to answer questions as we go, but we'll definitely leave time for questions at the end. So with that, I want to go ahead and get started with a quick recap on what is TClass. So TClass again stands for Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Supports, which if you actually use the COVID, if you actually like say the acronym for COVID, might be the longest acronym in the history of Texas Education Agency, which is saying something. But this is a set of targeted supports. There's additional state and federal funding aligned to learning acceleration that we're able to provide for districts. You access this funding and supports through a single discretionary non-competitive grant application. It mimics a formula grant. It is not a formula grant, but it is essentially a Qualtrics-based application, a survey application with no narrative responses and easy budget calculations, which will then inform what districts actually submit through e-grants through our TEAL system. TClass gives y'all access to over $1.4 billion in services and supports that are available directly to Texas LEAs. 15 TA initiatives. I think that's actually over 15. You include the different supports, like the supports available through Decision Point 3. All of those are, again, available through one application, one way for you to access these. These include previous TA initiatives, current TA initiatives, but this is the one way, rather than having multiple applications that your teams have to sift through and make decisions on and actually apply for. This is your one-stop shop way to access these supports. When we talk about learning acceleration, this falls into 5 strategies in the way that we talk about this: strategic planning, instructional materials, teacher pipelines, more time, and innovative school models. This really runs the gamut of everything that we've heard that districts are prioritizing for learning acceleration related to COVID. Within those learning acceleration strategies, we have multiple decisions. I would characterize these decisions as, what do you want to do, or what combination of decisions do y'all want to make as Texas districts and charter schools to support learning acceleration? Some of these decisions are right for a lot of folks. Some of them aren't right for any folks. Actually, I don't want to say that. Some of them may not be right for you. We do hope and know from what we've heard from folks that all of them are right for some folks. We've seen really great interest thus far in the TClass process, but we have divided it into these decisions so that folks can opt in to exactly what they are seeking to support their students in their unique district across the state of Texas. For our time together today, our focus is going to be this high quality instructional materials. That's what HQIM stands for, supplemental approved products. The way that I would characterize these as supplemental products, so add-ons to what y'all are doing with regard to curriculum instruction to support more specific needs of your learners. So what that means specifically is the available supplemental choices through Decision Point 3, which we'll go through step by step here in a minute, is supplemental blended learning products. So a combination of online and in-classroom instruction, progress monitoring and intervention tools to support teachers and educators in understanding where students are and how we can best support student mastery of grade level TEKS, decodable text for learning to read for our early learners, a dyslexia intervention tool, which is really excellent. Excited for Michelle to dig into that in a little bit. And then college prep math and English, which Stacy will review shortly. So with that, want to go ahead and kick it over to you, Amanda, to go through our supplemental blended learning products.
Great, thanks so much, Andrew. So we are going to start by aligning on our definition of what we mean by blended learning when we talk about it as part of TClass. So we are specifically talking about a coherent solution for all students that combines face-to-face instruction with aligned online instruction. So this gives students a lot of opportunities for differentiation and personalized pathways in their learning. So face-to-face instruction, we know, is super important for kids. It gives flexibility with instructional decisions, collaborative learning, feedback and encouragement, and discourse with classmates to develop their mathematical thinking. Aligned online instruction can give some additional acceleration supports. So when it's aligned in the right way, students are getting what they need for the next module from the online program as the teacher's teaching. So really filling those gaps to give them access to grade level content. It provides preview of developmental key concepts. It gives procedural fluency practice, and it also gives real-time data to guide instructional decisions. These software programs are giving you immediately updated dashboards that can help you with instructional decision making. So when we talk about this face-to-face instruction piece, we're going to start on the left side here. We are referencing Eureka Math TEKS Edition, which is the K-5 Math Tier 1 curriculum that's part of Decision 2, HQIM. So Eureka Math TEKS Edition balances fluency, conceptual understanding, procedural skills, and problem solving for students. So you can see in this snapshot, students are exposed to each of these every day in their learning to really develop their strong mathematical thinking. The second aspect I want to highlight of Eureka Math TEKS is the coherence across grade levels. Many of us have participated in and led vertical team meetings trying to help math teachers connect the models, strategies, vocabulary across grade level so students can see this coherent story of mathematics versus every year starting over and trying to learn their grade level TEKS. So Eureka Math TEKS provides this through line in their models, strategies, vocabulary, so students are building off what they know year after year. Finally, as like all of our Texas home learning products, it is a comprehensive set of curriculum and instruction materials. So you have unit plans, lesson plans, all aligned to the TEKS, teacher, student, and family supports, progress monitoring, a full suite of assessments, formative and summative, as well as diagnostic assessments through Eureka Math TEKS Equip, which will tell you which foundational essential skills and knowledge your students may need to access the material. Everything is available digitally, and then there's also printing that's available to you. There's a lot of built-in supports for all learners. So this can pair really nicely in a blended model with aligned supplements. So right now we are qualifying online supplements for Eureka Math TEKS. We wish we had that list ready to share with you today, but we are in the process of qualifying these. What you can expect when we release this vendor list is that the programs will be aligned to both the TEKS and the Eureka Math TEKS scope and sequence. So like I referenced earlier, your students are getting the knowledge and skills they need when they need it to access their teacher lessons. Second, they will support learning acceleration. Our goal is for students to see as much grade level content as possible next year to help close that gap that we're seeing in math. So it will fill those gaps to get kids back to grade level versus putting them on a pathway that keeps them off grade level all year. Third, they will have an aligned instructional approach to Eureka Math TEKS. So that balance of conceptual, procedural, application, and really building their mathematical thinking. The vendors will also provide implementation resources and guidance to help you think through how you can implement Eureka Math TEKS and the program hand in hand. And finally, we're really prioritizing programs that give you the mastery reports you need to inform instruction. So where are you going to get that rich data to help you make decisions? So this vendor approval process is currently open, and we expect to have a list for you next month before submitting the TClass application. So you will be able to see what the options are before you submit. So for next steps for interested LEAs, look out for that list coming next month so you can see exactly what the products are before your application deadline. And then also think through your implementation of your blended learning program. There is a small piece of Decision 2A around joining math innovation zones. We support the planning and implementation of high quality blended learning through a cohort model. We are ready to welcome our 5th cohort, a lot of resources, expert support from top researchers in the field of blended learning to help you design a program that's going to get results for kids. It also has some execution grant funding tied to it that districts who meet planning requirements can qualify for next year for the following school year, as well as a campus intervention pause from the commissioner, which is a really unique benefit of math innovation zones. So if you're interested, please do some looking on that. And that is a little piece in Decision 2A separate from the product in 3A. So I'm now going to pass it on to the folks working on 3B, and I'm happy to answer any questions in the Q&A about all of that.
Real quick before we kick it over to 3B, and thanks for the handoff. I'm going to run 3B, so good handoff. I do want to answer just a couple really quick, really relevant questions. I have a question in that says, it's such a great question. If we change to these products, if we use these products, we essentially have to train up our teachers. There's a lot of change management there, and we're assuming that these funds go away for these products. Absolutely. The TClass funding, the funding through this discretionary ESSER funds lasts for the next 3 years, I believe, through 23, 24. At that point, there will be no longer be funded this opportunity, right? So a part of so there's two pieces there. One is there's not it's not just for free forever, right? There's no such thing as free lunch. You have to invest in your teachers, the training, and there's change management that happens going forward. So it's so smart to be thinking ahead. The other piece that I would say is just another call out for joining this decision with 2A on TClass application. Math Innovation Zones also offers a pathway to essentially plan for sustaining these programs through different changes to budgeting and financing. Throws in some technical assistance there, so sets folks up in that direction as well. Keep the questions coming. We will again pause at the end. And thanks for Amanda for running through the supplemental blended learning products. Let me just go through our progress monitoring and intervention option through 3B as well. So what we mean when we talk about progress monitoring tools is supplemental products that support the monitoring of student and or teacher performance, academic performance. And there are multiple types of products that can do this. So a few of them could be interim assessments, some diagnostics, some screeners. We hear a lot of folks asking about those. And so those will be included as an option for folks on the TClass application. There's also intervention tools for tier 2, tier 3 instruction. So these are supplemental products that teachers will work with students outside of that tier 1 general instruction. This could be anything like data analysis, any kind of progress monitoring tools, any kind of assessment kind of data loopbacks that help teachers better understand how student achievement is going, how students are progressing through their curriculum or through their academic growth. For this, and this is heavy text, so I'll slow down on this for a second, but for this specific option within decision 2, I want to highlight the second bullet point. There's no approved vendor list for these products. So what will happen on the application, we'll pop out to the guidance document in a minute, which does mimic the application, is that LEAs submit the names of up to 5 products that you're planning to use as a progress monitoring and intervention tool. And then TEA will be able to essentially award you funds based on those submissions. You'll have to list student name or student the numbers of students, because a lot of these products price per student, but that'll help us actually calculate your award and then allocate that funding based on the capacity of licenses through in-kind supports. Next, want to kick it over. Actually, let me just check the chat real quick about some of the progress monitoring tools. I want to be clear about the supplemental, this entire section of supplemental high quality instructional materials. You do not have to choose anything else in TClass if you don't want to. You could just make a decision about any of these 5 options. That's all you have to do. So really good question. You do not need to select, for example, 2A to participate in any of these. And then another question about, does this replace the Math Innovation Zones and Blended Learning Grant Program grant for the upcoming year? It does. So the one thing that you got to keep in mind about TClass is that it shrinks the number of applications that districts would have to submit for different grant programs across TEA, but it consolidates those into this one application, so you're only doing that once. That does mean that if you're interested in an initiative like Math Innovation Zones or a variety of other TEA initiatives, that the TClass application is your way to get into those programs. I want to kick it over to Elia, who's going to walk us through the decodable text for early learners learning to read.
Thanks, Andrew. Okay, you can go ahead and click to the next slide. Thanks. Okay. So today I'm going to go over the supplemental reading program that's being provided through TClass. What I want to remind folks of is that supplemental products are not intended for use for core instruction, but intended to support, complement, or enrich instruction. Supplemental resources are key to bridging gaps and accelerating learning. And one of the resources we're offering for reading is Learning Dynamics. And Learning Dynamics is a supplemental phonics program that provides direct, explicit instruction in the development of alphabetic principle and decoding skills. It is not a comprehensive foundational literacy skills program. It focuses solely on those 2 development areas. And the program is really intended to support young students just learning to read and or students that are just really struggling to read. You can jump to the next one, Andrew. Thanks. Here's a quick summary of the program. The program introduces letters and sounds one at a time in a proven effective sequence. The lessons will shift from letter and sound identification and production to blending. And then students should be able to begin to decode and read in as soon as 4 weeks. Through the program, students are rewarded with books that are designed to reinforce skills learned in previous lessons. What's great about the program is that students are able to build their personal library with the decodable books provided. They'll be able to read the books, building confidence and serving to strengthen and solidify essential foundational skills. Okay, so here are the program components. The materials include student and teacher resources. Through this program, each student would receive 53 full color decodable books, a student workbook, and pop-out rewards, one for each lesson. Teachers will receive a program and lesson manual, flashcards, a music CD, and access to a digital platform with a virtual learning companion. And this is available to both teachers and the students. All right, so Learning Dynamics has two program models, or just two ways that you can use it, at home or at school. For the at home, a parent or caregiver can deliver the instruction. The teaching manual is truly optimized for at-home learning and ease of use and written in extremely parent-friendly language. The recommended pacing is 20-minute lessons every other day. For at school, any educator can deliver instruction. And that means teachers, paraprofessionals, aides, volunteers, coaches, etc. The program does include guidance for one-on-one instruction and small group instruction. And the recommended pacing is about 20-minute lessons, 2 to 3 days per week. So you can access this resource through TClass in spring. The Texas edition is in production right now and will be available spring 2022. And it's going to showcase alignment to TPGs, grades pre-K 4 through grade 1. It's going to include Texas localization, which means it's really built for Texas specific needs, and will be made available as an open education resource, which means all of the digital components or printable components are going to be available online. So here's what LEAs can get through TClass. You can opt in to receive the at-home teacher or student kits with component materials shipped directly to you. The at-home kit is a great option for tutoring or kits to send home with parents to use for extra practice or enrichment. It's inclusive of all program components. So like one set of student and teacher resources, and it's perfect to use for one student. The teacher kit is exactly the same as the at-home kit, so teachers have access to the full program components. And the student kit is only inclusive of student-facing materials, which includes that set of 53 decodable texts, student workbook, and rewards. So we recommend obtaining a student kit for each student that uses the program. If you'd like to learn more about Learning Dynamics, we urge you to visit their website at www.learningdynamicscurriculum.com. And the TClass guidance document on the TD website should be updated by the end of the day with this web address. You can also email sales@ldreading.com to learn more. And that concludes all the information I have for Decision Point C3, and ready to kick it off to I guess 3D. That's Michelle.
Thanks, Elia. And Michelle, before you go, just some quick questions for you, Elia, on Learning Dynamics.
Sure
Do you know much about the Spanish availability of Learning Dynamics product?
It's only available in English, unfortunately. For the Texas edition, there will be the program manual and teacher manual will be available in Spanish, but that's just the manual and not the instructional materials themselves.
Great, thanks.
Mhm.
And then there was a question about, could a parent be a tutor for accelerated instruction as required by HB 4545 if they're trained on the resource? I think there's a lot of really good questions that are coming across about HB 4545 in the interaction between TClass and HB 4545. I would think of TClass as a way that districts could get support to fulfill HB 4545 requirements. And so if you see as the district that using this as a resource, either for tutors or for parents or for teachers of record to meet those obligations, that's an option for folks. All right. Let's go ahead and kick it over to Michelle to walk through the dyslexia intervention tool. Michelle.
All right, great. So I'm excited to share the platform with you this morning, and you can click to the next slide, Andrew, please. So this secure platform allows for dyslexia interventionists to implement an evidence-based dyslexia intervention that includes all the required state components, and it can be provided virtually or face-to-face. It has an online secure video sessions, and the curriculum is digitalized in English and Spanish. And they also are able to provide secure individual sessions during group sessions. Okay, go to the next one. Additional platform features, the teachers can schedule all of these sessions ahead of time, and students can get notifications, reminders that they have those sessions. There is documentation of student performance and progress. There is a whiteboard that is shared between the teacher and the students. There is adaptive technology, and then also a monitoring dashboard for LEAs. All right, go to the next slide. And we're going to show this short video introduction that shows a lot more about what I'm talking about.
Oops. All right, folks on the TEA team, could you hear that when it started? Can you hear it now?
I can hear it now. Yeah.
Andrew, you're going to want to
Can't
up
hear
the
it
volume
anymore.
on that.
All right, you shouldn't try this for the first time live with 100 people. Tell me again, when could you hear it? Can you hear that?
I think it's coming through your mic and not going directly to the computer.
Check one more thing real quick. All right, there we go. So this video is available. The link is in the deck that we'll share shortly. But essentially, this walks you through the Amplio dyslexia intervention platform. You can see kind of the student interface as well. And Michelle, tell me just kind of if you want to voice over anything here. But you see the student interface. You see the ability for folks to for interventionists to interact with the system as well. And it'll show you a few things about just the individual capabilities of the program. Some good data reports there for progress monitoring for the students, for interventionists. Anything else you want to highlight from this, Michelle?
Just that the Spanish curriculum is Esperanza and the English curriculum is MTA.
Excellent.
You did a great job voicing over that. Thank you. Video is always tricky.
Yeah, and this is a good time to also say in the guidance document for folks, which we'll go to here in a minute. The guidance document actually has the link to the website for folks to go ahead and explore on their own, so that you can see if this is something that's interesting to you in your teams through TClass. Can you see my full screen?
Yes. Yes.
So you want to just voice over this one? And
sure, absolutely. All right, so in order to use the platform, teachers have to be trained in the curriculum. So we're really excited to share that teachers, we have free training for MTA and Esperanza. So once a district enrolls in using the Amplio system, then they will get a message from Region 4, who is actually coordinating that for us. And I mean, it's fantastic. These are just some of the trainings that we have this summer. We have 19 trainings going on. We already have over 100 teachers that have been trained so far, and our training just started in June. So we're really excited about that. There is a link there at the bottom that you can click on to find out about more information about the training. All right. Thank you all for letting me share this morning.
Thank you so much. Let's just check some quick questions. Lisa, did I click share before I sound share? I don't know, but thank you. If you do have questions about this dyslexia tool, please throw them in the chat and then we'll come back to them at the end. And with that, I would love to turn it over to Stacey Avery to talk through college prep math and English.
Great, thanks, Andrew. As you all are aware, for many years now, we've had what they're referred to as the HB5 College Prep Math and College Prep English courses. So through this decision, through our initiative called Texas College Bridge, we are really focused on preparing students for that entry-level college coursework in English language arts and mathematics. So that's really the focus of this. So Andrew, if you want to go to the next slide. So and I'm sorry, I've got lots of animations, Andrew. As you may be aware, Texas College Bridge has been going on for just over a year right now. So regardless if you choose this decision or not, you can still access the no-cost online adaptive college prep curriculum for English language arts and mathematics for 11th and 12th grade students. Go to the next click. Thank you. It is competency-based and it's aligned with college readiness exams like SAT and ACT. There are really detailed dashboards to monitor so you can adjust student progress for teacher intervention. We already provide professional development for teachers, facilitators, district coordinators, and counselors and advisors. And we've also developed college and career planning resources, tools, activities, and trackers. So that's available to you right now. You can go to texascollegebridge.org, sign up, get your kids enrolled in these, and take off. However, what we're offering for the TClass is grants to districts so that you can receive funding to implement the program locally. Funding could be used for teacher stipends for students successfully completing and making it all the way through, counselor stipends for the counselors getting the students all the way through the student-facing college and career resources, and also to pay for TSIA testing for the students. Next click. One more click, there you go. Go back one. You have a lot of flexibility how you can implement this program, and we have an implementation guide on the website currently that this can be your entire curriculum for the HB5 courses in collaboration with your IHE provider. It can be supplementary materials for your HB5 courses. And if you get this grant, you still have all access to everything I just described that anyone can access. But the grant gives you funds to implement it locally and gives you flexibility on how you want to use those funds. Next slide. So already we have a lot of districts benefiting from Texas College Bridge. We've got 336 districts participating. We've got 40 colleges signed on to our Texas College Bridge MOU. We've got students active in English and math as we speak, trying to finish, and go ahead and click through. There you go. And we've had students complete English and math. What a lot of students are lacking in English is the essay, and that could be something that you have teacher stipends on, pay for after school support to help students finish that essay so they can complete their Texas College Bridge. And we have districts from every education service center participating right now across the state. Go ahead and go to the next slide. You can go ahead and click through. Great. So back one. As you know, for the college prep course requirements, there are some things set out by statute. You have to partner with at least one institution of higher education to develop or provide the courses. So you want to start with your institution of higher education to see if they are interested in Texas College Bridge. If they are, you can do one of a couple things. You can amend your local MOU with them, or they can sign on to the Texas College Bridge MOU. Then you need to identify those students who did not meet the college readiness standards, either with the EOC or through any college entrance exams. And we are targeting 11th and 12th grade students. 28014 also says you have to provide notice for students and their parents or guardians. And a student, when they successfully complete either the English or the math or both, and successful completion is outlined in that MOU. It says exactly what it means for successful completion. Then they are exempt from developmental education courses effective 24 months following the student's high school graduation. And that's really key because remember, our goal is to get these kids ready for entry-level college coursework. Go ahead, Andrew. This next slide just shows you all of the colleges across the state that have signed on. So your college may already say, we accept these Texas College Bridge courses as our HB5 courses. If your local college that you partner with is not on here, you can talk with them about, again, amending your local MOU or signing on to the Texas College Bridge MOU. Next slide. So here's how you calculate it. And we've got this laid out, and these are your fill in the blanks in the application. You tell us your number of students for math, your number of students for English that will be participating. Again, 11th and 12th grade students only, and you multiply that times $100 per student, plus then the $8 for TSIA. So for 21-22, we are looking at all 11th and 12th graders that will be participating. In 22-23 and 23-24, we're just looking at adding in those 11th graders each year because we've already funded you for those 12th graders. Now, this is the calculation method. However, locally, you would determine how you would use these funds. We are giving you some ideas and suggestions. Andrew, go ahead to the next and click through. So what you get at no cost is we already have a technical assistance provider, and we have a great website at texascollegebridge.org. You get the license for the online material. You get a student locker, and it's all virtual, where the credentials are stored so the students can send them upon graduation to whatever university they need to, whatever employer they would like to, lots of options there. You already get the professional development for high school teachers, counselors, and district coordinators. You get the college and career readiness planning tools, activities, and trackers, and information resource and guides for college and career exploration. So that's available to you at no cost. The grant funds are used to implement it locally. Next slide. So is it right for your district? Here are some questions that we have in the guidance document under the guiding questions. Do you have 11th or 12th grade students whose performance did not meet the college readiness standards? Do you have students in 11th and 12th grade who have not yet met CCMR? If so, you may want to consider this course. Or do you wish to reimagine your current HB5 course offerings? I saw questions earlier that ask about materials in Spanish. We do have the math portion of this, allows students to mouse over and see the language both in English and Spanish for those students who may be English language learners. So lots of options there. Next slide.
So thanks so much for that, Stacey. I do have a few questions coming in about College Bridge. If you don't mind, so the first question is, can you tell us the difference between what is, I'm paraphrasing here, but can you tell the difference between what's available for free right now versus what is available in TClass?
Sure. So what's available for free is everything you see on your right-hand side of that screen that's in blue. You receive your licenses, access to the virtual locker, professional development, and the college and career resources. That is what you receive regardless of if you apply in TClass. If you apply in TClass, you can get money to implement locally. Perhaps you need funding for teachers to support this over the summer. Perhaps students need extra support after school and you want to pay teachers a stipend to support those students after school. Perhaps you want to incentivize how students to complete. So if a teacher gets a student to completion, then they could get additional funds per student that get to completion on that. These are really local decisions. If you have an 11th grader that completes this, then you may want to go ahead and test them with their TSIA to see if they're eligible for dual credit in their senior year. So lots of options that are already free. If you don't want this support in TClass, you can still access the materials.
That's great. Thanks so much, Stacey. A few more questions about College Bridge. One is, if we're currently a TSI testing site and we pay for all TSI tests, can we use these $8 per student funds to supplant the local funds we're currently using for TSI?
You do not have to use the $8 for TSI. This is just our calculation method. So I believe, and Andrew, you can answer this because I'm not sure the source of funds. I believe supplement versus supplant does not impact this funding, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think that's something that we can get back on with the FAQ, just to be super clear about that. But good question. This is an opportunity for folks to be able to pay for those licenses. One more. So the college prep classes are only for 12th graders. Count and accountability at CCMR, has that changed? I think the question is like, what is the requirements for accountability CCMR in 12th graders?
Yeah, so college prep courses are one of the indicators in CCMR, just like all of the other indicators. Once a student meets that indicator, they don't calculate and look at that until after graduation, because we only calculate it on 12th graders, but it does look back, because if a student took a dual credit class as a sophomore and a junior to earn their dual credit hours, again, they look after they graduate and look back throughout their high school career to determine if they met that. So this course, the statute said it's designed for 12th graders, but it can be offered at other grades. And for Texas College Bridge, we allow it to be offered at 11th and 12th grade.
Excellent. Another one, this popular topic. Does the math or English teacher have to be certified in that content for the course?
That's a great question. So there are no essential knowledge and skills for this course. The statute actually says the content of this course is developed by the IHE and the ISD together. So I think you would want to make sure that whoever is supporting the students through this course has the background knowledge to help support the kids to get them through the course. Because it doesn't have TEKS associated with it and it doesn't really live, I'm unsure of the specific credentials the educator has to have. So I would say look back on what you're doing currently with those HB5 courses and apply that same logic to them. Because again, all Texas College Bridge does is supply the instructional materials for the course.
Got it. Excellent. And there's a few more that are pretty specific to individual situations. I think this is a good time to highlight our upcoming office hours, where everybody will get a chance to talk with initiative leads and the folks that are the real experts on these decisions. Not that I'm not, but the folks that are the other folks that are there that can dig in specific with your individual situation will be really helpful. Those start on July 28th, Wednesday, July 28th. They'll be at 4:00 p.m. Central Time every week until the application closes. We'll add that in a follow-up email to these webinars, but just wanted to give you all a heads up there. I'm going to go ahead and move on, and then we'll come back to questions here in a minute. But what I do want to navigate to real quick is the actual guidance document that's on the website to show you, if you're interested in any of these supplemental options, how you actually go into the application and click it. The application will be available on Monday, but we will walk through the guidance document right now so you can see the exact information that you'll need to supply with the application. Can I get a thumbs up from my team that you can see the YouTube slide right now? So I'm just going to actually type in TClass to Google and it will pop up for you. On this site, you'll see a little bit of content that we went through today, but I'm going to go ahead and scroll to the bottom past the other webinars. As a quick aside, this is where the recording and slides will be available. If you click into the guidance document, this essentially answers what is TClass and then how do I actually select into individual options. So I'm going to scroll down, and I apologize for scrolling so quickly on screen share. Sometimes it makes me a little nauseous, but if you get to this section, which is Decision 3 HQIM Supplemental Approved Products, that's what we talked about today. There's a little bit of content, some more content up here. This is really a repeat of what we talked about today. But if you go to the next page, these are the additional resources. So these are the websites that you can click into to learn more about the specific products and decisions that folks will make. This required grant application information section, this is really important. This is essentially mimicking what you will see in the TClass application. The TClass application will be a survey, like a Qualtrics-based survey that will be hopefully super simple, super straightforward. And then that's essentially what will plug up into your eGrants application through Teal. So this is where you're answering the questions that we went over today. Essentially, do you want each of these, or do you want any of these, or do you want all of these? Keep in mind, there's again, no such thing as free lunch. There are requirements for these and to implement these. There's yes, no questions here if you do want them. And then some of the other information that we need to ultimately calculate your award, whether it's grant funds or if it's in-kind supports. And so in the application, you will literally click, yes, I want these. Here are the number of schools that I want it for. And here are all the assurances that I'm going to essentially commit to. You'll also see the decodable text for learning to read, progress monitoring intervention, dyslexia tool as well, and then College Bridge. Since we're just on it, this is essentially matching what Stacey was just reviewing of tell us how many students that you want for this, and we'll go ahead and calculate that award to you. And since this is grant funds, it will essentially be calculated or inputted to our eGrant system, and that's the funding that folks will get. Also want to call out there are prerequisites here and a little bit of information about how we award priority points. So that information is available on the guidance document as well. If you do want to get a little bit more in the weeds and say, how much is my TClass award going to be? You can download this funding calculator. I'm going to pop this up and switch over to screen share real quick. This is a funding calculator that you can use. Again, this mimics the application that you'll see on Monday. So if you go down to decision point 3, you can actually pull in and say, hey, yes, this is something that I want. I want it for 5 schools. And if you enable editing, you can essentially calculate your award. So you can play around with that calculator. This is not something that you're going to submit to us, but it is something that you should be able to use as a tool for you to just play with your award for TClass. So I'll spit out your award, and that'll be essentially either your amount of in-kind supports and your granted funds. I know that's super small, but just go ahead and go to the TClass website, and you can play around with that. Okay, so want to round us out real quick, and then we will we'll pause for questions. Can I get a thumbs up from my team that you can see the PowerPoint again? Great. Okay, next steps. We'll pop back to questions here in a second, but the application will be open on Monday. It'll be on the TClass website. The application will close about a month after that, August 20th. There will be like finalization of your application in eGrants after that with a tentative NOGA date of December 1st. That is a long time from now. So one thing that is really important for folks is that we're allowed to have pre-award costs with all of these grant funds, which essentially means that you can use, if you know that you're getting this award, which we'll be able to tell you that preliminary award notification in early September, you'll be able to use these funds and backdate it, I think, to earlier past this summer. So the one thing that you need to do, though, is make sure that your board allows for use of pre-award costs. About 50% of districts in the state do allow for this, and the other 50% don't. Or just haven't asked the board for approval. But that's a next step that folks need to take if you do want access to those pre-award funds. There are different resources available to you. We just walked through those on the website. Again, the application will be available. That's actually how you submit your choices to TEA. Additional resources, also calling out the office hours. Again, the registration is on the TClass webpage, but there will be each Wednesday from July 28th through when the application closes, and then you can talk specifically with the leads of any of the decision points that you're going to have with TClass. There's the webinar table again. Again, this is posted on the TClass webpage. Go there. It's going to be much easier for you to navigate with it. as we do pause for questions, I want to get folks to complete this interest survey. If you think that TClass is something that you're interested in, just go here and let us know. This is completely optional, but it does help us kind of gauge demand and help provide more resources to folks as you work towards completing this, this application. And with that, we'll go ahead and pause for additional questions that we'll be able to answer. We do have, so we have a quick question about, can we request MClass for decision point 3B, I believe was the intervention monitoring tools. If MClass is a tool that you use at your district to, or want to use within your district to monitor, progress monitor, that's something that you can request within, within the application. Thank you, Stacy. I would love to do this with 11th graders. Let's get some Texas College Bridge love over here. And my team, if you do see questions in the chat that you're better positioned to answer than me, please jump in. There is one question about what is in-kind funds. So if you think about this application, the supports will be given to districts in one of two ways. Either as grant funds, which means it's like a traditional, like, here are your grant funds, here's X amount of money to spend on this. That is what we call grant funds. In-kind funds are something like Texas College Bridge, where we have the agreement set up with Texas College Bridge and we'll pay them in kind. So you're getting in-kind services. You're still at the end of the day getting the services that you want, but the in-kind funds mean TEA will pay for it and you don't have to worry about the actual contracting or exchange of funds with that vendor.
There was a question about MTA and Esperanza and if it was free for the next 2 years, and yes, it is.
That's great. Thanks, Michelle. There's another question about the about Amplio dyslexia tool and seeing if there's any kind of reports on its effectiveness. Is that something that you have available, or maybe we point folks to the website?
So both of the curriculums have research studies, but that at this time is all we have.
That's great. So if you want to learn more about that, then you can go back to the guidance document and click into the website and explore a little bit more. There's a question, I think there's a broader TClass question. If our district wants to implement one of these, and let's extend this for all TClass initiatives, in 22-23, but don't feel ready to make that commitment or ready to implement this coming year, what should we do? So if you're saying, hey, anything that I've heard with TClass is not for now, but it's for the future year, go back to that guidance document and see on those different columns. And let me actually just pop back to it real quick. If you go back to the guidance document, you can actually see, we'll just pause on the first one. Apologies again for the scrolling. We've divided this such that you can make decisions based on which year you want to implement. So for example, with one, which is I know isn't the subject of today, you can select yes or no for 21-22, or you can select yes or no for 22-23. So there's different supports depending on different years. If you're worried, if you want to do one of these supports, if you want to participate in one of these supports, but you're you don't know if you want, you know that you don't want to do it in 21-22, but you might want to do it in 22-23, go ahead and sign up. There's no guarantee that we can reopen this process, especially with the demand that we're getting right now. We want to make sure that we have allocated those funds and allocated the resources to you. Also, if there is something that you see that you want, but you don't want it for a future year, for example, this data strategy full-time employee position, go ahead and select that now.
Andrew, can I respond to something I've seen in the questions?
Please.
So Texas College Bridge, and I know we're jumping between decisions here, but let's go back to Texas College Bridge for a minute. Remember, Texas College Bridge is for those students who are not yet college ready. So it is not appropriate for every single 11th grader and every single 12th grader. If those students have already demonstrated college readiness by end of course, by already passing the TSIA 2, or by meeting it on SAT, ACT, then you should not put it on every single student. So just wanted to address that. Think historically, those students that were eligible for the HB5 classes, that is the same litmus test you're using now.
That's great. Thanks, Stacey. Question about, will districts that submit their applications early more likely to receive the full amount requested? That there's no bonus points for folks that submit early. What will happen is after the 20th hits and the application closes, essentially the application will close and the decisions will be made based on funding amounts. Individual decision points, if you go back and look through the guidance document, will list how they prioritize funding or prioritize awards, which a lot of times, as you can imagine, is something like percent of students who come from economically disadvantaged backgrounds. There are other ones that, depending on the specific decision point and supports, that might have a more nuanced kind of prioritization. But if you go to the guidance document, you can read into that. You're welcome. Question, is this a separate set of funds than ESSER 3 money? So there's a big chunk of ESSER 3 money that went straight to districts, and there's a subset of those funds that is essentially funding a lot of the supports that are included within TClass. So think of this as in addition to that, those ESSER funds that that were available for districts. And a good next step question. That's why I said available to many districts. There's some districts that because of just different calculations of ESSER funds. Question is, will any consideration be given to districts who have received little to no ESSER funds support learning loss? So this is a good opportunity for those folks to get access to these ESSER funds in the associated supports. Again, I would just keep in mind the prioritization that is listed in the guidance document, as it may be a similar prioritization as the initial kind of federal allocation of ESSER funds. There was a question about, can you put that address in the chat? If you don't mind, can you just clarify what which address you're asking about? I will just say, if you just Google TClass, and you'll have access to everything that we've covered today. Again, in-kind support is essentially TEA will contract with or give the funds to the vendor, and then you get to work with the vendor, versus grant funds are when we will give you the funds and then you contract with the vendor. End of the day, you're still receiving the supports. It's just a question of where the funds go and who sends them where. We are running up on time. I know there are additional questions that are in the question and answer box. What we'll do after this, and there's a few questions that we need to go back and get the answer to, but we'll do that, and we will publish an FAQ document, and that will be posted on that TClass webpage. We really appreciate y'all joining today. I know there's a ton going on. Know that it's also summer, and hopefully folks get a chance to take a breather and relax a little bit. But no, that's also not in the blood of many educators and the folks that do this great work across Texas. So try to relax. But thank you for all you do. Thanks for joining us today. And thanks for what you do for students across Texas. Again, point you to the website, the TClass webpage. If you do have any questions, join those office hours. We'd love to see you again, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks.